Again, it'll be interesting to see how the early legs of this match develop. As we've seen in almost every match we've commentated on in Épée, the first 4 or so legs have a big impact on the tactical outcomes in the rest of the match.
Yeah, we saw England race out to that 5-1 lead in the first fight of their bronze medal match, and they never looked back.
That's right. The South African's very lively. She's doing a lot of little feints to the wrist, putting pressure on the Singapore fencer.
She's done a lot of her fencing on the US college circuit. She has dual citizenship of South Africa and the United States. Lives in New York.
And the US domestic circuit and university circuit is incredibly strong. The domestic circuit is one of the toughest in the world, so that'll be a very good training ground for Barrett. But first blood goes to Victoria Lim. Little hit to wrist over the top as Barrett came forward. I think the Singapore women's épées individually will be probably disappointed with their performances. Cheryl Lim picked up a top 8, but no one else made the last 16. And I think they will feel that they underperformed there in the individual event. So they've turned that around really well in this team event to reach the final. And it's a good example of how sometimes a group of individuals can be stronger than as a team than they are as individuals. And that's, you know, all about team order, team dynamic. The coach's influence on the game plan and the tactics can have a big impact as well.
Yeah, and it's not as if they had an easy route to the final either. That very, very close win against Jamaica, who themselves have some very talented fencers.
That's right, absolutely. So the same pattern developing this hit. Barrett's coming forward with reconnoitring actions. I think she's trying to draw the counter-attack. She's not really going deep in with this attack. Putting pressure on the Singapore fencer, who looks content to be defensive, as she was in that first hit that she scored. And exactly the same action. Barrett takes the blade, goes for the lunge attack, but the Singapore fencer's being very patient and disciplined and ready for that action, and just gets around the left-hander's blade and hits to the arm on the way in. So intelligent fencing by Lim. First leg, she knows there's no need to make any mistakes here. She can be very patient and disciplined. Barrett working on the blade on the way in. Obviously cautious of the counter-attack, trying to deflect the point out of the way. And also using that as a feint to disguise when she's going to launch the real attack. Lim looks very solid, technically. Nice hand position, nice on-guard position. In the back 2 meters now. The gold area you can see on the piste is the back 2 meters of the piste. If she goes outside that area, she's off the piste. And this time Lim launched her attack to the outside of the arm, and the South African blocked out. The left-hander managed to block out the right-hander's attack and riposte over the top. So 1-2. I think Lim's tactic earlier on of just being completely patient and waiting for Barrett to commit, probably slightly the better tactical decision.
Juliana Barrett looks a little lighter on her feet, staying on her toes.
Yeah, she's a very bouncy fencer, kind of bouncing up and down. Not, for me, not changing distance enough. She's too much on the spot. I think coming in and out of distance would confuse Lim's distance a bit and give her more chance to land the attack that she's looking for. This time Lim changes to a nice parry across, so Barrett attacked, tried to hit the body. Lim took the blade across her body with a cart parry and riposted, what we call riposte in opposition, which means she kept contact with her opponent's blade as she hit in order to stop her opponent replacing the point. Fencer's content then to give up the last 12 seconds.
Yep, so we skip forward to the next fight. 3-1 is the lead to Singapore.
And Singapore will be very happy with that start. I was surprised to see Barrett go quite so much on the offensive. I thought she might possibly just feel out her opponent a bit more, use the piste, see if the Singapore fencer was willing to come onto her and attack. But really, she tried to dictate the pace and was pushing forward for the whole fight. And that played into the Singapore fencer's hands a little bit. I think Lim was very happy with that. She took 2 nice counter-attacks and then changed on the third one to a parry post and established that early cushion.
So, next fight up then, Cheryl Lim against Daniella Klonarides of South Africa.
And Klonarides also, she's quite a tall fencer. Looked for a parry post there as Cheryl Lim went on the attack. She's quite a tall, rangy fencer. She'll probably be fencing from a little bit longer distance. So again on the offensive, just as Barrett was in that first leg. Tries the flesh attack. That's parried by Cheryl Lim, but her riposte misses, hits flat, and then Klonarides replaces the point in time to get one light up. Score is 3-2. Still didn't look like the right timing for that flesh attack from Klonarides. So even though she got the point, I would say she should be cautious of launching that same action again. It was a bit of a desperate defence that got her the point, really. This time she flashed over the top, but this time I think with the intention of doing that replacement. So it was quite a clever change. She didn't really look for that first action to land. She flashed over the top and then did a seeding parry and riposted in the preen position, which if you're not familiar with, it's a lovely cart parry post there from Klonarides. The preen position, when we're teaching it, I sometimes call it the wristwatch parry. So imagine you're looking at your wristwatch and that's your hand position. So that was a good change from Klonarides. She was ready for Cheryl Lim to change into a flesh attack, and she did a parry post. That time Lim went high with a feint and then disengaged low and hit to the leg. 4-4, so this is quite an interesting battle now. The first fight, Singapore were a little bit more defensive, but Klonarides has come out, put them under pressure and managed to land enough of her attacks for Cheryl Lim to feel that she has to take more action and be more active. And the result of that is we're back to parity at 4-all. Both missed there, so Klonarides missed the attack, then Cheryl Lim missed the opportunity to land the counter-attack, and then as they met, they touched physically, and the referee has to call halt. It's called core à core, body to body. The referee has to then call halt. Klonarides now a little bit more in and out, not just holding one distance. Again, both fencers missing. Lim did a flesh attack. Klonarides did a parry post. Neither could replace before they met in the middle of the piece. And at the moment, they're both looking a little bit tense. They haven't quite got their distance and rhythm right. This time, parry post for Singapore takes it to 5-4.
Klonarides just wants a quick check of her weapon.
Yeah, she thought maybe that she should have got a light up there. She just wants the referee to check her weapon's working, which it is. But it's worth checking. If you feel you've scored the hit or should have got a lighter, it is always worth that check, because if you go on to the next hit and it happens again, maybe you were right. So Lim launched the attack. Klonarides did a parry post but missed, and then Lim replaced very quickly with a continuation. Nice sharp fencing from Cheryl Lim there. Again, exactly the same action. Lim went in with the attack. Klonarides did a cart parry but couldn't get her riposte on, and Lim did a very fast replacement, continuation of her first attack to get one light. Those two hits quite interesting. I think the first one possibly wasn't planned, but I think Lim was ready on the second one for the Klonarides cart parry.
Yeah, and the referee just asked her there if she wanted to change her weapon. She's gone with that option.
It's good refereeing, because she's obviously got that feeling in her mind something's wrong, but there's nothing coming up on the test. The referee doesn't want her to keep testing every single hit and wants the fight to flow. So that's sensible refereeing, kind of pushing her in the direction of deciding to change the weapon. Give the fight a bit more flow. So 3-hit cushion for Singapore. Just over a minute left of the second leg. Klonarides going for the beat of the blade and then attacking. And then she tried the same action again, and as she did the beat, Lim stepped in, so she was ready for it. She read the distance very well there.
Turning into a pretty good round for Cheryl Lim.
It is 4-hit gap now. Klonarides just stepping back off. I think she's realising that her attacking option has not worked and has just given South Africa a bit of a deficit that they didn't want. So she's trying to get Lim to come onto her. I think she may have left it too late in this leg to do that. Lim should be quite happy now to hold for the end of this leg and just keep that 4-hit cushion.
For the fencer who's told by their coach what they should go out and do, there's got to be a degree of autonomy, I suppose, and make their own decisions if it's not working out. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, coach can give some ideas and give some thoughts about the other person's tactics and some ideas about what you should do. But at the end of the day, the athlete's responsible for their performance on the piste. And if they decide the tactic's wrong, they want to change. Of course, in the end, that is their decision.
And coaches are always happy with that, of course.
Delighted. Usually, well, obviously, if I give advice, then it should never be changed, but other coaches may make mistakes, I don't know.
That's the end of the second fight then, and it is a 4-point lead. Yeah, and pretty good round for Cheryl Lim there, extending the lead out. It was 2 points, it's now 4, so they'll be quite happy with that.
Yeah, I think the key in that one was Klonarides came out, with aggressive intent. She did pull back level, but then I think she pulled back level with some hits that, even though she scored them, they were kind of desperate second actions rather than nicely timed, nicely planned hits. So it was almost deceptive. She was winning the fight on the scoreboard, but tactically I don't think she got it quite right. But she then pursued the same distance and same timing in the fight, and Lim managed to work it out. And once she'd worked it out, then Klonarides really didn't have an answer. Singapore, for me, are looking slightly steadier, slightly more thoughtful team here. We haven't seen Carfoot yet. This is their first appearance in this match, and Rahardja for Singapore. Gap is 4 hits. Now Rahardja's a nice, tall, strong-looking athlete. She's got very good épée, kind of classic footwork, bouncing in and out of distance, a wide stance. Looks like she's ready to produce a counter-attack into Carfoot's attack.
Yeah, she has said before, Rahardja, that being tall does give her an advantage in this sport. She's like 5'8", 5'9", so fairly tall.
Yeah, in women's épée internationally, that isn't tall, to be honest. We look at Juliana, who won the individual. She's somewhere around 6 foot, and that's not at all unusual in international women's épée. So Carfoot being more cautious than her 2 compatriots in the first 2 legs, which I think is sensible. There's no need to panic right now. It's a 4-hit cushion, but we're still only the 3rd leg. Well, Carfoot went for the foot hit there, and I'm not really sure that was a sensible decision. She came in a bit too close. The Singapore fence had plenty of time to extend the arm out and hit on preparation on the arm. So not a good shot selection there from Carfoot, I don't think.
Just about a minute and a half to go then, this 3rd fight of the gold medal match. And remember, Singapore can go top, an unassailable position at the top of the medal table for this 2014 Commonwealth Championships with gold medal here.
Well, I think the way Carfoot's fencing, she looks like she wants to be defensive, that she's a counter-attack fencer, but she feels under pressure to score. And I think that's a dangerous trap to fall into so early in the match. I think South Africa came out a little bit too aggressively at the beginning. Just gave Singapore a few opportunities to build a lead, and now they're starting to get a bit rattled. And Rahardja's scoring quite freely at the moment. Scores 11-4 now. And South Africa need to stop the rot here before this gets absolutely critical. That's a good one there. Rahardja a bit less patient, and Carfoot could step in to Rahardja's attack, get a single light. That would suit Carfoot's timing a little bit more, so I don't think Rahardja has any need to do that. Carfoot looking for a fleisch tap, but sort of pulled out of it halfway. Didn't attack with confidence. So she does, it feels to me like she's a defensive fencer who prefers to counter-attack and defend, and has been forced onto the attack.
As we saw in the bronze medal match as well, those double hits very much play into the hands of whoever has got a half-decent lead.
That's right, you get a few hits up, and there again, Rahardja playing for the double. Didn't try and disguise that attack, happy just to put a long attack in and let Carfoot hit her as she came in and take a double hit, because if she gets to 15, the leg's over, and she maintains that lead. She'll be more than happy, I think, with a 6-hit lead after 3 legs, so she has no need to do anything but double. But Carfoot there with the better attack. She did that flesh that she did earlier, but then quickly replaced the blade when it was parried. But it still looked a little bit out of distance to me. She didn't quite get the distance right. I think South Africa just need to take a deep breath, just to settle down and realise this is early days. They don't need to chase the match quite so much. They just need to work their way back in gradually. Carfoot still pushing Rahardja to the back of the piece. I think Rahardja is quite happy in that gold 2-metre area. She likes to feed off her opponent's timing mistake. But that was a much better attack that time from Carfoot. She was a lot more patient, waited for the right moment, much better there. There's a big difference when she builds up the preparation and waits for the moment rather than being a little bit more desperate and trying to push it too soon.
So forgo the last few seconds of that 3rd fight then, and it is a 13-9 lead.
And those last 2 hits back just at the death there, give South Africa a much better position. 6-hit deficit going into the fourth would have been a bit tricky. But Klonarides back on, taking on Victoria Lim. They're still in this match, absolutely in this match, and they just need to make sure that they don't come out too aggressively, that they wait for the moment, not try to force the time, and just let it happen and then seize the moment.
Victoria Lim already has a team bronze medal from the previous Commonwealths. She's a top 4 ranked fencer in Singapore. And
I think she would have been disappointed with her individual performance. Didn't make the last 32 here. She's just around the top 100 in the world ranking, so a solid international fencer. So I think not making it, as far. I think she would have expected to make the last 8 for sure. Not making it that far would have disappointed her. So they will really be coming out here with something to prove. They will want to take this gold medal home and come away from these championships with something. That was nice. She did a flesh attack from the left, and then there was a good power riposte, which initially didn't land, but then a very quick replacement of the riposte from Victoria Lim saw her get 1 light up. Now the last fight ran out of time before they reached 15, so the target here is actually 20. It's the 4th leg, and they're fencing multiples of 5. So by my maths, 4 5s makes 20. And it's not my strong card, I must admit.
I'm just having to trust you on that one, John, to be honest.
Klonarides is being a little bit more settled, a bit more sensible than she was, I think, in her second fight. Just waiting for the right timing. I just feel South Africa haven't quite settled in this match. Singapore just looks so much more relaxed and comfortable and focused. South Africa look a little bit twitchy and just a little bit more tense.
Yeah, Singapore seem to have come out with a game plan, each of them, and are very much sticking to it now that they've established that lead.
That's right. I think as soon as they saw the South Africans coming on to them in the first 2 legs, I think that would have suited them a lot. They were happy at the beginning to be cautious. Nice power across. Klonarides went for the attack. The initial parry from Lim was actually quite weak and didn't have quite the right position, but she adjusted it very quickly. Took the weak part, the end of her opponent's blade, sort of near the tip, onto what we call the forte, which is the base of the blade. And just the physics of that means she can then push her opponent's blade out of the way very easily. She has the leverage to push it out of the way. So although she got her parry position wrong at the beginning, she adjusted it quickly, pushed her opponent's blade away, and then got her single light up. 6-hit cushion again now. But as I said, when South Africa came on very strongly in the first 2 legs, that would have, I think, really pleased Singapore. Very patient, disciplined outfit. And discipline is one of the words we've used again and again over the last couple of days. Having good discipline and executing your game plan is the basis on which these team victories are built. So, referee calls halt.
Yep.
Non-combativity.
45 seconds left in that particular round.
So if there's no hit scored for 1 minute, then the referee can call non-combativity, which means he thinks the fencers aren't trying to fight, not trying to hit each other. So he says, thank you very much, we'll move on to the next fight. That will obviously suit the leading team, because now South Africa have a little bit less time to make up hits.
Looks like South Africa are already planning a substitution. Going to bring on their reserve.
Yes, it's Giselle, I think it's pronounced Vicatos. I think that's a Hungarian name, actually. Giselle Vicatos. She had an okay result. She got last 32, the individual. The South Africans put in respectable performances. Barrett had a really good result, coming 3rd. Klonarides and Carfoot, not quite so strong, but still respectable results.
And that issue of non-combativity is going to very much play into Singapore's hands as we move towards the final stages.
Absolutely. I think the key thing is here now, we're in the 5th leg, so the target is nominally 25. It's unlikely we'll reach 25. So this now becomes a tactical time battle. And for the leading team, that gives them a big advantage. They have a 6-hit cushion. South Africa know they need to start to pick up hits. It's still not critical. This match is by no means over. But they need to have a couple of really strong fights and pull back a couple of hits. So that puts pressure on them to be aggressive. And that plays into the hands of the Singapore fencers, who have very strong parries, very good counter-attack timing when they're defending.
Yeah, and Rahardja has just moved back into that little strip of gold at the end of the piece again.
Yeah, she is a big, strong fencer. She took the blade and went high, but the South African was ready and did a nice counter parry, blocked her opponent out on the way in. There's two left-handers, and she blocked the opponent's blade and got one light up. So a good start for Barrett. I think she's fencing this in the right way. She's being positive, but she's not rushing in. Much calmer than her first leg, where she came on a bit too strong, I think. Distance is short. She does exactly the same action. She's now waiting for the counterattack, so she's playing the second intention game. She's trying to draw out Rahardja's counterattack and then parry it, and that's been successful in those first two hits. But the question is now, will Rahardja change her tactic? And if she does, will Barrett be able to adapt? The answer is Rahardja will change her tactic, in case anybody didn't notice, which I'm pretty sure everyone did. So now the question mark for Barrett is, what is she going to do about that? And Rahardja's now being much more aggressive. She's letting the distance close, and she's attacking with a disengage. So as Barrett tries to take that circular parry, Rahardja is trying to circle round the blade. So she's now moved on to the next stage in the tactical battle. Barrett takes that circular parry post. I think Rahardja probably thought reasonably that Barrett was going to change, and Barrett didn't change. Now, you could argue that was a brilliant double bluff, or you could argue it was a bit too naive. Either way, she got the point.
And there are no pictures in the scorebook, as they say.
Exactly right. 5-hit cushion. Barrett's still on the offensive. She needs to pick up hits. She scores a double. And Rahardja is going to be third last for the Singapore team. Nominally, looking at international ranking, those kind of things, Rahardja is the weaker fencer of the three, but I quite like her style. She's quite strong, quite confident fencer. I think Barrett would think this is the fight she has to pick up hits in. This is the weaker fencer, the one where she has more opportunity.
Yeah, Rahardja, I think, was made last 64 in the World Championships in 2013 as well, just 21 years old. So
yeah, she's no mug, that's for sure. She understands international fencing. She's a good athlete. She's strong. She's got good technique, and she's already showed she's got a good change of tactic. And she's now restored the 6-hit lead. That was nice. That was very nice. Again, Barrett looked for that circular parry, tried to take the blade up high and then riposte, but Rahardja was ready, came round the blade and hit to the body. So she's just managed to stay one step ahead in the tactical game. The pattern the same there, and this time, for some reason, she didn't disengage. She went for the direct attack. Barrett took the circular parry. It's almost like they're trying to bluff each other and thinking they are going to change, then they're not changing, and then they are going to change, and they are changing, and it's a bit of a mind game going on there. I just feel like that was a nice hit from Barrett. It was really a reaction hit. She messed up her distance, tried to take the blade, got it wrong, but managed to get her body out of the way quickly and hit to the arm. So that was more of a reaction hit than a planned hit. I just feel that Barrett's just tactically a little bit one-dimensional for this situation. That was a nice counter-attack though, so she's now changed to trying to step back out of distance as Rahardja attacks and hit to the arm rather than taking the blade.
She has closed the gap by a couple of points.
And for the third time today I had the commentator's curse saying that she was being one-dimensional.
As long as it's not catching.
Hopefully not.
There's a good crowd here at the Inverclyde National Sports Centre here in Largs, absolutely wrapped with action in this gold medal match of the women's team Épée.
Yeah, some good support for Singapore all week actually. They've made a lot of noise and they've made a lot of friends here I think, and earned a lot of admiration from the crowd who've been very supportive of them in their runs through to a lot of finals this week. And both fencers happy to lose the last few seconds. The gap is 5 hits. I think that was a really important leg for Singapore because there was a moment there where Barrett looked as though she might start to force a little comeback, and Rahardja was very quick to change her tactics and start to be more varied. Barrett was struggling to find the answer, then made a good change to going from parry post to counter-attacking the arm, but just couldn't quite string enough hits together to start the momentum that South Africa need, I think, to get back in this match. So So Carfoot steps up for South Africa.
I think this is the change actually, John. I think it's the reserve is coming in. Oh no, she's on the piste, my mistake. I was looking at the wrong place. It's next fight up, I think.
Yeah, I think Klonarides will be swapped out for Vicatos. So this is Carfoot versus Cheryl Lim. Cheryl Lim, who's going to close the match for Singapore. And I really like Cheryl Lim's style. She's nice classic on guard position, quite a wide stance. Very, very correct hand. And she just looks very composed to me. Very, very composed. Looks like a genuine international style fencer.
Yeah, shifting her weight nicely backward and forward.
Carfoot trying to draw out. I think that's the action Carfoot's trying to draw out there. He saw Cheryl Lim come out with a lunge to the arm. Carfoot might be trying to reconnoitre that action. She went for the fleisch. Parry post for Lim, but Carfoot replaced in time to get a double. So I think she'd view that as a good outcome of that. That fleisch attack was a little bit out of distance, and Lim did a nice fast parry post, so Carfoot would probably have been happy to get out of that with a double. Target's 30 in this leg, the 6th leg, and we've just got just over 2 minutes left. Unlikely they'll reach 30, I think.
Yeah, absolutely no pressure on Singapore to push the pace here.
Not at all. I think Lim's just waiting for the right distance to launch that counter-attack lunge, knowing that at worst she's probably going to get a double out of that, and that's more than enough for her. So that double hit means they maintain the lead and they get close to their target. This time she stepped out of distance. Carfoot fleshed again, and Lim changed to parry post. She stepped out of distance, took the cart parry, and did a riposte in opposition. You saw her angle the point into her opponent, but keep her hand across the body, defending against Carfoot's replacement. I just think it's a shame for this match, actually, that South Africa came out too aggressively in those first two fights. I think they've fenced much better tactically since then. I think they just came out a little bit too much adrenaline, a bit too tense, and actually gave that momentum away to Singapore very early on.
Big reaction there from Cheryl Sim. You can see this means an awful lot to them.
Yeah, they really want this. As I said, I think individually they will feel they underperformed, and they will want to come away from this with the gold medal for sure. And it means a lot to the whole Singapore squad, obviously. The gold medal here will secure their place at the top of the medal table, which I think is a fantastic result, not just for them, but actually for Commonwealth fencing. I think that's a really good thing.
Yeah, we saw that in the bronze medal match there, that attack, low down attack trying to strike the foot. And it is a dangerous tactic.
Yeah, and Carfoot tried it earlier on, actually, I think in her first leg. And Rahardja was ready in counter-attack to the arm. 7 hit cushion, just under a minute left. And really sensible, composed fencing from Lim. Just waiting for the moment, not feeling any pressure at being near the back of the piece, just using every inch of the piece and waiting for the right moment, knowing that all she needs to do is keep her opponent at bay and score doubles if necessary. That last hit, she did a nice action, taking the blade in a circle and then hitting to the body. Carfoot struggling to find the answer here, how she can string a couple of single light hits together. I think if Singapore have a lead of 7 or 8 going into the last 3 legs, which looks likely now, it's going to be a really critical situation for South Africa. It's an 8 hit cushion.
And I suppose at that stage there's only so much really you can do to force the pace if it's what you've been trying to do from the start and it's not working. That's
right, and I think, you know, Rahardja is the number 3 for Singapore in this. She's going on 3rd last against Klonarides, but she's a strong fencer. She's already showed how strong she is defensively. So for Klonarides, she has to come in here now, knowing she has to attack, but she's got to find something a little bit different, I think, a different tactic to use against Rahardja.
Yeah, and we're going to see Cheryl Lim again in the final fight as well, so that's going to be interesting to see if South Africa can make any headway. And the whole Singapore team is out helping with the equipment, having a little chat.
Yeah, that's good. I like it when teams do that, showing team solidarity, supporting the fencer going on, high-fiving the fencer coming off.
Yeah, whereas in contrast, the South African bench just looks a little flat.
Yeah, I think I think they're starting to sense the writing is on the wall here, but it is certainly not over. I think they just need to be a little bit more positive here. They need to try and lift themselves. They definitely need to move their fencing up just a little bit of a level, but that's possible for them. Of course, this is Vicatos, so not Klonarides. My mistake. I forgot that they'd made a substitution.
I've already made that mistake, so that's us 1-1, I think.
So it'll be interesting to see if Vicatos offers anything different. Now she looks much more like a classic Hungarian-style fencer. She's looking to get Rahardja to come onto her. She's a little bit wider stance, more relaxed, smooth footwork, hand a long way forward. She looks like a counter-attack timing fencer. Now that's fine as long as Rahardja's coming onto her, which she just did with a very effective lunge, taking the blade on the way in to stop Vicatos counter-attacking. So Rahardja's obviously very cleverly read Vicatos' intention there, and she came in with the lunge, but didn't just go to the body. She took the blade on the way in to stop the counter-attack.
Yeah. Rahardja could quite happily back off, I think, as Vicatos has come out and is not trying to force the pace too much.
Nice beat attack. Rahardja beat her opponent's blade out of the way, so she's read immediately Vicatos' intention is to use timing, try and hit her on the way in, and her first two attacking actions have both started by taking her opponent's blade out of the way to make that much more difficult for the South African to do. And again, you see again, she took the blade on the way in to stop that counter-attack opportunity. Very, very intelligent fencing. And she picked that up so quickly that I'm very impressed by that. It would have been easy for her to make a mistake on the first hit and get hit on the counter-attack, but she immediately realised what Vicatos was doing. And you see again, beating the blade on the way in, so Vicatos can't counter-attack.
Does being a smart fencer sometimes make up for a lack of technique?
Both are preferable. Yes, it can do. You know, I think it varies from weapon to weapon as well. I think you can get to a certain level by being tactically clever, but you won't reach the very top level unless you have fantastic technique as well. That's the reality. You know, if you want to be a top fencer, you have to have the full package: physical, technical, mental, tactical, financial.
And Rahardja just coming out on top in that little exchange, and it's now a 13-point lead. And I don't think we've seen a comeback of anything like that sort in any of the Épée competitions so far at this championships.
I hesitate to use the word impossible, but improbable, I think. That was better from Vicatos this time. Instead of trying to counter-attack, she changed to do parry post. She should, to be honest, have changed tactics much earlier, because she's just let Rahardja pull away from her in this leg. There's just over a minute left. It's difficult to see where South Africa are going to pick up those hits in the next two legs, so I think Vicatos needs to do something here, needs a couple of hits back. Exactly the same action. Rahardja comes forward, takes the blade out of the way, Vicatos trying the counter-attack, but because the Singapore fencer deflected her blade, it made it much harder for her to do that. And I just think she should have changed her tactic in defence, either change to do more parry posts or be more aggressive. She's clearly not comfortable attacking, so maybe parry post would have been the right answer.
Yeah, we'd obviously fallen behind the scoreline earlier in the fight, but another hit. Oh.
And this time she did try and do a parry post, but Rahardja did a counter parry post and gave Singapore a commanding 15-hit lead going into the last two legs.
Yeah, she managed to reach that 35-point mark and take away the rest of that round, and that's very much the last thing that South Africa would have wanted.
Absolutely. I mean, Rahardja has more than done her job as the number 3 fencer there in that match. Absolutely more than done her job. I think Singapore would have been very happy to go in with a 6-hit lead. She's given them 15, and someone's going to have a complete meltdown now for Singapore not to win gold.
Yeah, I mean, she picked up 8 hits there to 1.
Yeah.
It's looking very much like Singapore are going to end this championships on top of the medal table. And there's not much that Scotland or England can do about it. Both of whom were
all they can do is
the same thing.
They can try and match their gold medal tally. They can't match their silver medal tally, so they can try and tie on the gold medals. But Singapore have been, I wouldn't say the surprise package, but certainly came in a little bit underrated by people. Very professional outfit, great coaching team, really good fencers, good technique, good athletes. Everything looks really correct. Lots of youngsters, and I just think, you know, they've got such a big future. They keep this improvement curve going. They've got a big future.
Are you aware of any particular impetus to that, John, or is it? Do you think it's just something that's been sort of happening behind the scenes, and they've been quite happy working away at getting the systems in place?
I know they've been bringing good European coaches over for a while. The Singapore coach who's coaching the Épée team isn't. He's an Asian coach. But a lot of the most experienced coaches at world level in recent years a lot of them have been Eastern European. And I know they brought some Hungarian coaches over there. And I think there's a Russian foil coach over there as well. So that's really the start of building that base. You have to have the coaches with that level of experience and technique and understanding of what needs to be done, not just this year or next year, but over a long period of time. And a lot of it comes down to funding, of course. If they haven't got the money to pay those guys, they're not going to get them. So, the government funding comes in, and they decide to invest in it and see it as an opportunity, then there's a big chance.
Yeah, I suppose not being afraid to rip up what you've done before and bring in external talent, I suppose, to give you fresh ideas and
that's right,
fresh momentum.
And it's very easy to get stuck in a rut and keep the same people on who are maybe good fencers and doing good things, but aren't going to be the future of the sport. Singapore, as we've already said a few times, have really made the perfect combination of youth and experience in their squad. They brought in the talented youngsters that clearly have everything in the right place to go forward and be successful in the future, and they've combined that with fencers with world level experience who are not going to get rattled by the bright lights and the music. And it's been a great performance from them as a squad.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Wen Lau, who was here in one of the earlier competitions, just 14 years old. I think there's a 15-year-old in Team Singapore as well. It's, it's a big step to put them in at that kind of age.
It is, big responsibility for them. Big responsibility, but it's clearly been the right decision. I've also been impressed by the composure of their teams on the bench. They've been supportive, positive, but not too tense. They've all come on the piste, with a good game plan, not too stressed out, and delivered great performances. Singapore closing this out at the moment. Carfoot's picked a few hits up here. The gap was 15 going to this. She's 5-2 in this leg. She's got just over a minute to keep closing that gap. I think it's going to take something like another 5 hits for her to hand over hope, as opposed to just a scoreline. But Lim has got something to say about that. Victoria Lim picks up a good attack in the preparation of Carfoot. 50 seconds left in this leg. Double hit. That will suit Singapore. They need one more to close this leg.
And then it'll be Cheryl Lim against Juliana Barrett in the last fight of this particular gold medal match.
It's a double. It's all Singapore needed to go into leg number 9 with a 13 hit cushion.
I mean, that was a pretty good effort from Tammy Carfoot there to try and close the gap, but as you say, I think the damage had already been done.
Yeah, we saw the pattern that we've seen emerge in a lot of the Épée matches this week, which is the early exchanges are absolutely crucial, and the teams that keep their discipline and keep their cool in those first 3 or 4 legs and can establish maybe just 2 or 3 hit cushion can then start to exert the mental pressure on the other team, and then the losing team feels like they have to chase and they come out there and make more mistakes. And this is exactly the pattern we've seen develop over a number of matches. Some matches it's happened with teams doubling out, as in this one where we're on target to hit 45 points. Some matches it's happened with teams using the clock and matches going to non-combativity. But the outcome is exactly the same. And then we end up with the last 2 or 3 fights, the losing team's chasing, and there's a flurry of hits, and we end up with a big scoreline for the winning team.
Yeah, I wonder if Singapore will be looking to finish this early, kill the match off.
I think the good thing about these fencers is they're just going to go out there and keep doing what they're doing. Ignore the scoreline, keep just fencing, keep the discipline, and then the victory takes care of itself. Lovely hit, really nice hit. Parry Post was counter-parried, but then she pushed through the continuation. And Cheryl Lim, within 3 points of securing gold for the Singapore team. Juliana Barrett, I think, realises this is over, but she's obviously going to keep trying to pick up as many points as she can. It's fencing for pride now. Still a good result for South Africa, putting themselves in the final, picking up the silver medal.
I think Juliana Barrett will be quite pleased with her performance as well here at the Commonwealths.
Absolutely, she's had a great week. Individual bronze, fantastic result for her, and now team silver for South Africa. I think they'll go away, the women's épée team will go away well contented. Just over 2 minutes left. Barrett picks up a single light. The gap is still 13 hits. Barrett on the offensive, trying to draw the counter-attack and parry it, and then on the second attempt steps out of the way and does a nice counter-attack to the outside of the arm. Good left-hander's hit there, angling round to the upper arm.
And the Singapore coach is the most animated he's been for the entire fight. He's down on his haunches now. The referee just telling him to pipe down a touch. He's clearly not, there's obviously driving standards still, not happy with the way things are going.
Yeah, I think that might be a bit unnecessary because I think he's just got a bit stressed that his fence had lost a couple of hits there. And he was obviously telling her to go back on the defensive and use the piece, because that's just what she's done, which is the obvious tactic at this stage. She doesn't need to attack. But that's a good example there of, you know, a coach who wants the execution of the game plan to be perfect. You know, for her to go on the attack there wasn't necessary. It was the wrong tactical decision, and he was going to let her know that. And there you go again. She went on the attack, and Barrett pulled out the counter-attack. Minute and a half left, 11 hit cushion. And all Lim has to do to close this out is exactly what she's doing now, which is be more patient, let Barrett come forward and then pick her moment.
Singapore team getting ready to celebrate.
And there it is. There we go. And they are celebrating, that's for sure.
Absolutely terrific scenes. See the women's épée team from Singapore there. It's obviously meant a huge amount to them.
Yeah, as I said, individually they didn't perform as well as they would have liked this championships, and that has more than compensated for that. The team gold, not only team gold for the women's épée team, but that secures Singapore's place at the top of the medal table. And I said earlier this week, maybe they'll come back at the next championships and win the medal count, and they've done it 4 years earlier.
Yeah, I mean, there's a huge turnaround from what happened in Melbourne 2010, when it was Australia and England that were dominating pretty much all the team events. I think every single one of them, in fact.
Yeah.
So to have Singapore do so well and you know, make themselves a presence, make themselves a force in the Commonwealth, I think it's probably good for Commonwealth fencing as well that there is another force out there.
Absolutely. I mean, firstly we've had Scotland winning gold, England winning gold, and now Singapore in the team winning a gold. So that's great to have, you know, more than one or two countries in contention. But secondly, you know, with the drive to try and get fencing back in the main Commonwealth Games, it can only be a good thing that we have more countries winning medals. You know, to the globalisation, the growing globalisation of fencing is a really positive thing, and that needs to be communicated not just in participation, but actually in silverware.
Yeah, just seen some replays of that celebration then. All 5 of the team members from Singapore out there, and they're still jumping about here in the arena. Yeah. Extremely pleased with their performance. Absolutely. High fives from the coaches, high fives from other members of Team Singapore who have been here supporting them.
Over the moon, and a really solid performance. From the beginning they were slightly more disciplined than South Africa and stuck to their game plan and established that early lead, put the South Africans under pressure and just fed off their mistakes and kept their momentum. Didn't panic at all. Didn't panic for a moment.
And given they had a fairly challenging route to the final as well, it's all the more impressive that they didn't panic, despite the fact they'd been run extremely close in their 2 other matches.
And actually that's their most comfortable victory of the day. You know, they very nearly went out in that first knockout stage in the last 8 to a really talented young Jamaican side. And that was just a one-hit victory, and then England in the semi was a very tough, very close match, could have gone either way, and that was a 2-hit victory. So as I said at the beginning of that match, maybe they just felt those close wins where they kept their discipline and had the mentality to close those matches out, just gave them that confidence to go on to the finals piece, feel that the gold medal was meant to come to them, and execute their game plan.